a potential backup center. I think, Nick Richards, something along those lines, they could do a lot for a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. But one trade in particular that I don't really think it will happen or would happen this offseason. I think that this would be kind of more something that could happen as we get closer to the trade deadline. And that is a Phoenix Suns trade, but in particular, Nick Richards. You could get rather cheap. And I think if Phoenix, to me, it boils down if Phoenix is just not very good. If Phoenix ends up having a bad season or missing the play-in or something like that again, then I could see them kind of going like, hey, let's kind of clear the deck as much as we can. I mean, I think Nick Richards very likely gets traded regardless because they have like 15 centers on their roster. Nick Richards' element of it, I think, could potentially happen as soon as this offseason, right? Whether it's the Lakers or another team. But I could see Phoenix kind of being like, hey, let's go in as is, kind of see how this plays out. Nick Richards can kind of be our starter, more trusted, at least for now, right? But if Malic ends up kind of coming into his zone or whatever, or, Mark Williams starts coming into his zone, right, for that team, then all of a sudden I could see maybe that shift or transition, or maybe Mark Williams is the starter, Nick Richards is the backup, Malic and these other guys are kind of the back. We'll see how Phoenix kind of plays it out. But I could see if Phoenix isn't very good, as we inch closer to, the trade deadline, them being like, hey, let's kind of retool next season, right? We got the center position locked up. We got, Jalen Green and Devin Booker. What do we do from here? Trying to get off of guys like Grayson Allen and all these other guys. So I do think Phoenix is likely going to kind of continue to make moves going into the season. And I wouldn't be shocked if they try to get off of, again, guys like Grayson Allen and Dylan Brooks and try to just kind of clear salary, which is where the Lakers could come in because the Lakers have a ton of expiring contracts. So the Lakers, problem is that the Lakers are really good, right? And that's not like a pressing need, then you might not need to make this trade. But even then, depending on what the cost is, it might be worth it. Point is, like, Nick Richards and Dylan Brooks are two guys that I do think make a lot of sense, that if the Lakers are still kind of like, hey, we could make this move, or if the price is reasonable, and it's not a price where you have to sell the farm in order to go and acquire him, then I'd still look to go and make that move for him. Maybe it's a 3-team deal, maybe it's something, but to me, I think it really boils down to how is Phoenix, right? Phoenix, you would imagine, are probably going to be pretty bad, but don't be shocked if they're like half decent, right? I have not been more right on a team than Phoenix probably ever. I mean, the moment they made that trade I made video, again, it's all on recording. I was like, people were like, Tyler, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, Phoenix is going to be terrible. Like, I don't know why everyone thinks Phoenix is going to be really good. I was in the minority at that point, right? And I was just like, and it aged beautifully, made me look great. But I just, again, it's not as simple as just throwing players together. Now they at least have better balance, right? Still a little awkward with Jalen Green and Devin Booker, but I do think that there's better balance, right? And then you add in, Dylan Brooks, and they got, the center position, they got an excellent center kind of rotation and stuff. So we'll kind of see how that plays out for them in particular. But I do think that they're going to be towards I don't think they're all of a sudden going to be a contender or anything like that. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be shocked if they snuck into the 6th seed or something if it works out and balances out better. They're deeper, they're more versatile than they were, in my opinion, last year. Better just on both sides of the basketball than they were or potentially, let me rephrase that, could potentially be better. I just think that they have more going for them this year than they did the previous years, but I don't think it's enough high-end talent for them to actually do anything serious. But if they're a play-in team or borderline, right, I could see the Phoenix Suns going hey, let's kind of get off of some salary here. Let's make some moves, make some trades, and then kind of try to retool this in the offseason, right? Maybe get better balance. Maybe you get a bigger guard that can kind of play off ball but initiate and stuff, right? Kind of get creative, right? Can you find that, a 6'8" guy that can at least, maybe they go look at a Ben Simmons or something, more seriously. And now they get the salary space and they dump guy. I don't know. That's for Phoenix to figure out, right? This is a Laker channel. But point is, bringing in a guy like Nick Richards, I like somebody that Lakers should have brought in and had around for quite some time now, right? They should have traded for him a couple seasons ago and they didn't. Him, I'm not really sold on him as your starter. I do think he's a guy that in a pinch can be your starter. But to me, I look at him more as like your primary backup. Like he's one of the better backups in the league. But like I've talked about before, like it's varying degree. Like it's very minimal. Like the difference between like a Jackson Hayes and his production and a Nick Richards and his production isn't like astronomical. It's not crazy, right? But you look at like starting, you're like the difference between like a Şengün and a Jokic is like night and day, right? Like so Nick Richards being a back, like to me, getting another backup center would be kind of more of like the cherry on top rather than the Sunday with the works, right? Like to me, it's kind of more like by the way, here's a Nick Richards, right? That's why I've talked about like Robert Williams even. Like it's not so much like, going and trading for Robert Williams, it's getting Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams, right? Like if I'm the Lakers, I'm trying to look at packages like that. Look at packages for like a center that could be your backup and fill some roles, fill some needs, and then also get a legit kind of defensive 3-and-D wing, right? Same thing with a team like the Phoenix Suns. Go and get a Nick Richards who can fill in and play that role, but also get a 3-and-D wing and a guy in Dillon Brooks that can solve and do some stuff in that regard, right? And it wouldn't be super hard to trade for him salary-wise. So Nick Richards is making $5 million on an expiring contract, long-term piece. I mean, Nick Richards, 27. He'll be 28 in November, towards the end of November, so about a month into the season. Big question, though, with Nick Richards is how much does he want? Because I imagine he's not going to want $5 million a year again. So, is he fine taking, 12 to maybe 15 range, or is he looking for 20, 25 million? I don't think he would get that regardless, but it's something to keep in mind. If you do trade for him, he could just leave you in the offseason and now you're stuck with nothing, right? So, or what if a team offers him a starting spot where he's not going to be the starter for the Lakers, DeAndre Ayton's going to be, right? But Nick Richards would make some sense, especially alongside Luka Doncic. So, again, maybe you kind of pull something off with him if he's willing to stay. But getting into Nick Richards and his stats, right? Because, again, he's a guy that, you're looking to kind of come in and play in that backup role. But getting into Nick Richards and his stats, he's a guy that in 22 minutes, 22.7 minutes per game with Phoenix. I guess we can go over both. So 22.7 minutes with Phoenix, 36 games played at 34 games started. He got 6.5 field goal attempts, shot 60.5% from the floor. Doesn't take any threes, not a floor spacing big man. 2-point range, 60.8% on 6.4 attempts. EFG, same thing. Free throw shooting, 82.2% on 2 attempts last year for Phoenix, which is really good. He is a career 74% guy on 2.2 attempts, so a good free throw shooter. Last year, rebounds, grabbed 8.6 rebounds. He is a career 6 rebound a game guy. An assist, half a steal, a full block, and 9.5 points per game. He's a career 7 and 6 guy. So again, good role player guy off the bench. If you look overall between Charlotte and Phoenix, he averaged 22 minutes per game, started in 43 out of 57 games, 6.1 attempts overall, shot 59.1% from the floor. Again, doesn't spread the floor. 2-point range, same thing, 59.4% on 6.1 attempts, EFG of 59.1%. Free throw shooting, 74.4% on 2.8 attempts. He actually was getting to the foul line 4.1 times per game on average with the Charlotte Hornets, which is that's good. Averaged 8.2 rebounds, an assist, half a steal, a full block, and 9.3 points per game. Diving into Nick Richards and his per 36. Per 36 doesn't tell you everything, but kind of gives you an idea. With Phoenix, he was 15-14, 1 assist, half a steal, 1.5 blocks. Overall on the season was 15, 13.5, 1.5 assists, half a steal, and 1.6 blocks. He was actually 2 blocks a game with the Charlotte Hornets. So again, if you could get and land some guys like that, I love it. Bring in a Nick Richards. Again, try to find those types of trades where you can land multiple, like a wing and a center. That's kind of what I'd look at.